Pyrocynical, a YouTuber with over 4 million subscribers, best known for his in-depth video essay content and commentary videos, has been lying and manipulating his fans for numerous years about his. Pyrocynical has, over the span of 2015 to 2018, his platform and power as a content creator to engage with numerous fans and close associates of his who were significantly younger than himself. I have recently uploaded a video onto my second channel detailing in depth how Pyrocynical lied in his initial response video. The video succinctly highlights how Pyrocynical not only played down his behavior but also minimized the situation and actively took of a fan of his called Ivory Rasmus, and people need to be made fully aware of this. Recently, my channel has been under attack from mass reports, and I've been unable to upload this main video onto my main channel. Pyrocynical fans have also attempted to not only deplatform me with false before, to of course deflect the situation away from what Niall did himself, but they have also mocked my false arrest and have also mass reported my Google document which compiled 300 pages worth of evidence highlighting Pyrocynical's misconduct in a bid to silence me and the truth. So I only ask that you, the viewer, look at the evidence that will now be provided. Pyrocynical admitted in his own response video to knowing that Ivory was years of age on July the 5th, 2017, when he sent a link to his Twitter with his age present in bio. Yet Pyrocynical literally admitted that he continued at the age of 20 to send furry content and to him, roleplayed with him, and even commissioned of both their characters.
In retrospect, I never should have continued the furry stuff with him once I learnt of his age, even though at the time I didn't see it as a problem.
Even after Pyrocynical attempted to mass wipe all of his DMs with Ivory with a Discord script provided to him by a user named Faf9, it was still extremely easy to discern from the message logs that Pyrocynical continued to play directly into Ivory's, judging by Ivory's direct replies and the fluidity of the conversations. And between both Niall and Ivory, there was a 4-year age gap between them, and Ivory was on record in DMs making it known that his date of birth was the 21st of April, as well as even having it present in his Twitter bio. And despite using the age of consent excuse which Niall did, it was illegal regardless for Pyrocynical to have sent to him, as Ivory is in the state of Pennsylvania. Also, the age of consent does not now morally justify an age gap as disparaging as the one between both Ivory and Pyrocynical. Not only is there a distinct power imbalance due to the YouTuber and fan dynamic which Niall played into, but there is a massive maturity difference in play as well.
Legally, age of consent is 16 in both my country and his state. I didn't consider the age gap significant enough because what we were talking about and doing was so far removed from actual.
Age of consent is 16 in most states. Age of consent, man, that's not what you need to go by.
Pyrocynical's only actual defense was that he somehow didn't know that Ivory was at the start of their messages, when Niall would have been 19 himself, and somehow never asked for his age under any circumstances. And while Ivory made it known that he was on Twitter numerous times, Pyrocynical utilizes a plausible deniability excuse, claiming that he was suspended during the times where the tweets were made, therefore he wasn't on Twitter, ergo he never saw Ivory's age, with the tweets clearly specifying this.
Ivory himself did not disclose to me directly that he was. They then provide a list of Ivory stating his age multiple times on Twitter, so if I'm so sure that I didn't know he was, how would I have missed this? He never once disclosed the fact that he was at the time these exchanges commenced. He didn't include his age in his bio until he was. But I was not on Twitter between the 28th of December 2016 until the 29th of June 2017, as I was suspended.
However, this entire alibi is a lie. Pyrocynical was on Twitter and referenced it for information many times in videos created in the time period where he claims he wasn't on the site.
The only tweet I could find that had any relevance: guys, I go for a few days on Holy Day, so I can't upload. I'm sorry. Have a nice day, guys. I don't know why. If you go on YouTube's Twitter, the bio says, lol, watch this.
Pyrocynical also directly engaged with and saw Ivory's tweets during the same time period too, contradicting his own defense and narrative. Even worse for Niall was the fact that he claims he only knew Ivory to be a as of July the 5th, 2017, when he had his age present in his Twitter bio. But there is a massive hole in this defense. Ivory, in numerous circumstances, made it known that he had school, that he had classes, and that his mum wouldn't even give him presents until his school year was over. Ivory also made it known on May the 6th, 2017, a whole 2 months before July the 5th, 2017, that he would need a fake ID in order to get into an adult bar to get access to when he met up with Niall in the UK. In all these collective instances, Pyrocynical should have clearly discerned that Ivory was most likely, and any reasonable person, if they didn't know the age of the person that they were messaging, which is what Pyrocynical is claiming, would have then asked the person that they are messaging for their age. However, when Ivory stated he would need a fake ID in order to get into an adult bar, somehow Pyrocynical never asked for his age right after. In fact, he was not even dissuaded from continuing to communicate. This means that when Pyrocynical was engaging with Ivory while he was still, he did not have the reasonable belief that Ivory was an adult under any circumstances. Pyrocynical even attests that Ivory never lied about his age to him, so how is Niall still being defended here?
Me including the anecdotal evidence led to the belief that Ivory lied about his age. That is never a claim I have made that he has done to me. I've only said that I did not know his age at...
Pyrocynical also regularly referenced Ivory as a and small boy in DMs, and numerous close associates to Ivory came out attesting that he never lied about his age and that Pyrocynical knew that he was. As discussed earlier, Pyrocynical used a Discord script to purge his messages with Ivory to wipe incriminating messages where he directly engaged with him after knowing him to be, and Niall has been seen repeating this exact same behavior before to other fans that he engaged with. In other instances, he was even seen pressing his fans to move communication to Skype and for them to remove their messages on Twitter, and also to completely debunk misinformation which is being spread, which is playing directly into Niall's favor. Pyrocynical never originally met up with Ivory in an adult Discord server. This was an unsubstantiated claim brought up by Diesel Patches in his original video covering the initial in 2020. Diesel Patches in his follow-up video even went back on the claims, stating that there was no evidence behind it and he was merely just playing devil's advocate.
So on my last Pyro video, I made the assumption that Pyro and Ivory came from an community. The reason why this is an issue is because some people treated that as a fact because I didn't clarify enough that my comment was merely an assumption. The reason I assumed this is because I wanted to give Pyro the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't matter anymore because after looking at the new updated, it's pretty clear that he's in the wrong.
However, despite this, many Pyrocynical fans still to this day attempt to utilize this excuse. In reality, Ivory and Pyrocynical met in Solid Shibe's Discord server, and they first came into contact on November the 10th, 2016. It was not an adult-based Discord server, it was a community server that he fostered. Now, Pyrocynical's girlfriend, Ida, was also seen at the time victim-blaming Ivory after his initial call-out tweet, as well as defending the extremely concerning age gap and acknowledging that Ivory was at the time, clearly showing that she knew. This was also corroborated by 2017 Discord logs between both Ivory and Ida, where Ivory made his age known directly to her. And proof has been provided corroborating the veracity of these messages and clearly establishing that this was indeed Ida. Now, Pyrocynical's only excuse in response to this was that he simply was not close to Ida during 2017, and she had no incentive as to discuss Ivory's age with him, as they only dated in 2019.
I was not in a relationship with Ida until about mid-2019. This document claims it as soon to be, but like, it's a whole 2 years before we actually start dating, and 2 whole years before this conversation took place. I mean, we both talked before, but we weren't close. She had no reason to confide with me with someone else's private information.
Yet again, however, this is a complete lie. Messages from Ida during 2017 show her stating how close she was to Niall and that they called regularly, as well as archived messages proving that Ida, Niall, and Ivory were all extremely close and discussed private information with one another and spoke with one another very much throughout 2017. Unfortunately, however, despite all the proof going directly against Pyrocynical and with numerous inconsistencies or straight-up lies being highlighted, people still flock to Niall's defense, and Ivory has instead been consistently harassed, victim-blamed, mocked, memed about, and belittled, and Pyrocynical has managed to essentially get away with his power and status as an influencer to behave as egregiously as he did to an fan of his, which is disgusting. Pyrocynical also openly lied to and manipulated his fanbase for numerous years, claiming that the French girl never existed, but she did. Pyrocynical dated a French girl named Luann who operated the Twitter account Demoria67 when she was and he was 18 in late 2015. Between them, there was a 4-year, 2-month age gap, to which she attested on in an interview.
So I met Pyro back in 2015 when I was years old and he was 18 years old.
In the course of this 2 weeks, again, just for the internet's sake, what were the ages?
Still in 18.
Not only was her age publicly known by numerous users as well, but Luan attests on interview that Pyrocynical knew of her age.
He knew I was born in 2001, which would have made me years old when it was 2015.
Now, when Keemstar initially broke the situation in 2016, he was inconsistent with the French girl's ages, which Pyrocynical utilized to claim that the situation was unsubstantiated and made up simply because Keemstar wanted to spite him.
And if that wasn't bad enough, Keem is now trying to spread even more, saying that I'm dating girls and saying outright on stream that I'm a...
Pyro was trying to hook up with a 15-year-old girl from France, alright? That he was technically like a or a weirdo or something, right?
This story is total... I know exactly the 3 individuals who told Keem and even got in a Skype group chat with him.
And because Keemstar was seen as an unreliable narrator who was often impulsive and emotional, many people disregarded the situation and brushed it off as fake. However, in leaked messages provided by Keemstar from March 2016, Pyrocynical was seen messaging Luan in private Twitter DMs, talking about their 2-week-long relationship and how he was willing to wait for her to reach, with Luan in response stating that the only reason why he wanted to break off the relationship was because he didn't want to be seen as a due to the age gap dynamic. Pyrocynical was then seen conceding to this situation in Twitter replies, stating how he saw nothing wrong with waiting for Luan to reach the age of consent. He then ran to his Reddit to preemptively get ahead of the situation, conceding that the girl did in fact now exist, but with him now lying not only about the age gap between them, but also lying claiming that they were never in a relationship, despite Pyrocynical acknowledging the relationship that they had in private on 2 separate occasions. Niall was also seen doubling down on his comments about wanting to wait for her to turn legal, stating he would want to wait for her to reach before engaging in a proper relationship with her while he would have been 20, and this is textbook behavior. Pyrocynical engaged in a romantic relationship with a year-old when he was 18, to which the girl not only attests to, but also called it young love and that the dynamic was rather vicious.
So it was quite, young love, like where you have a crush. In DMs, we did start maybe a little bit flirty.
Keep in mind the mental maturity difference present in an age gap as egregious as this is extremely concerning. She was a fan of Pyrocynical, even being seen making fan art for him. Pyrocynical, however, was more than fine with escalating this dynamic and preparing a proper relationship between them when she turned of legal age, and he was aware of how fundamentally bad the age gap was because in Luan's own words, he cut her off because he was worried about being seen as a... This is disgusting, and this should not be defended at all, and it is insane how Pyrocynical defenders attempt to use mental gymnastics to excuse this behavior.
Your friend, your buddy came out and lied multiple times on Reddit about that scenario, and you're going to defend him?
I am going to defend him because there was nothing. It's a big nothing burger. Well, there's nothing there. It's a nothing burger. Absolutely
nothing there other than the fact that the ages and the Eve relationship, nothing there though.
High school.
He was high school age.
Not just a high school thing, not just high school drama, because it was all on the internet. They never even met in person.
Why should you talk?
He didn't even know what she looked like, as far as I know.
Pyrocynical in his response video also attempted to utilize wordplay manipulation to downplay his interactions with another that he engaged with who was a fan of his content. For context, a user named Spoopy Scary Aliens was an artist and had created artwork of Pyrocynical, which got his interest. In response, Pyrocynical liked the art on Twitter and engaged with them privately in DMs, pushing them to create thick, furry content. Pyrocynical then is seen complimenting her artwork and asking for her age, to which she replied, this, however, did not dissuade Pyrocynical from continuing to engage with her while he was 19 years of age at the time, because between them, there was a 3-year, 7 to 8 month age gap. Pyrocynical then openly admits in his response video to having got this 15-year-old girl to have created thick, furry art of his character, to which he not only shows uncensored in his video, but also plays down the nature of.
I then apparently replied to them, like, jokingly saying not thick enough, and then asking for their age, and they said, I asked them for a thick version, and they drew this, which isn't even really that different from previous things they drew before even getting into contact with me. I didn't commission it. What was drawn wasn't. They'd drawn very similar stuff before, and there was no roleplay here. It was nothing.
The artwork was clearly suggestive and it shows disproportionate parts. It showed his character posing in an position on bed sheets and showed the character having a and the fact that the girl herself stated that Pyrocynical demanded that she did it doesn't make the situation any better. Pyrocynical then attempts to shift the topic of the situation onto the fact that this 15-year-old had made more artwork beforehand, as if that fundamentally changes his own actions in this situation, or the long pattern of behavior where he, an adult, engages with fans of his and manages to get away with his behavior every single time, despite what he did being undeniably disgusting and morally egregious. So I ask one thing from you, the viewer. Please like and share this video and spread the truth around to as many people as possible, because not only did Pyrocynical lie numerous times in his response videos, but he's also had an extremely concerning pattern of behavior that he's displayed over the course of numerous years, that people are either blissfully unaware of or have attempted to defend and belittle. Please like, subscribe, and share this video, and I heavily urge you all as well to watch my main Pyrocynical video, as this video only touches the tip of the iceberg, because there is a lot more to discuss. But anyway, for clarification as this video ends, this video is not intended for hate, harassment, or cyberbullying whatsoever. This video is instead intended for educational and informative purposes only, going over the entire situation as a whole in a documentary-style context. I'd also like to clarify that this video is intended for more mature audiences as well, as more mature themes are actively being discussed, so viewer discretion is of course advised. All necessary content has been sufficiently blurred, and this video complies with all of YouTube's community guidelines. And with that all being said, thank you all for watching.